I'm Robert Cavuoto, and today on Sonic Perspectives, I'm pleased to be speaking with Neal Smith of the Alice Cooper Band, who have reunited after 50 years for the release of The Revenge of Alice Cooper that came out this July, and to talk about KillSmith, a new KillSmith album that we have. So that's great.
Hey, Robert, good to see you, man.
Yeah. So congratulations. I love it.
Yeah, I have to admit I take credit for the album title and the concept for it on this one. I can't believe that they found a real horror movie artist
Yes.
to do the cover from the UK.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's a really great cover.
Yeah, I mean it stands up right there with all of our classic covers for sure.
Absolutely. What stands up too is the music. It's interesting that with all the members and their diverse musical experiences over the last 50 years, you guys could get into a room and still make an album that sounds great and sounds like it still fits together. It's got some retro aspects, but yet with a modern sound. Tell me about that approach.
Well, I think first of all, what the secret to our chemistry is that we're always going to write and play like we always have.
Hmm.
And there's no effort in that. There's not trying to say, let's sound like this, let's do that. Dennis and I play together as a rhythm section. It's always going to sound like Dennis Dunaway and Neal Smith
Yeah.
as the root of the music. And I think I mean, everybody's writing, I think, better than they ever have as far as, individually. And that's what we've kept doing over the years. All of us, all four of us, always trading music, Alice and Dennis and Mike and I.
Yeah.
And I think it's just in the camaraderie that we've always had. And we get in the studio with Bob Ezrin, and, Bob kind of,
Yeah.
he's the glue that puts it all together for us. I mean, we have, like I said, a camaraderie, chemistry. We know each other's sounds, what each other can do, and that alone is exciting for us. And I think that that's what helped, elevate this to. And it's been mentioned a couple of days. It's almost like a musical time capsule from
Absolutely.
1975.
No, that's very true.
Which is
The obvious question is you've you've been on tour with Alice. You've played to the UK.
yeah.
You've done live at the Astroturf. You've appeared on some Alice Cooper solo albums. Why is it taking so long to do a complete full studio album of 14 new tracks? Why is it taking?
Well, ever since the band broke up, I mean, I think Dennis and Michael would agree. We took the year off. Ellis followed his solo career, and it just we always had it in mind to do another album. Just didn't realize it'd be half a century later. That's, that's
Yeah.
the only downside to it. But we always maintain our friendship, which was key. And even and as they finally the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came to their senses and inducted us in 2011. And I know how those things work over time and
Mhm.
politically,
Yeah.
and blockades that were in front of us to have that happen years before that had disappeared, and so eventually we got on there, got on the Hall of Fame in the 2011 class. So it was all a part of slowly coming back together, and I think feeling comfortable with one another. I mean, obviously, it's up Shep Gordon, our manager, who still handles all of our business,
Yep.
and Alice and Bob Ezrin were key, and the record company Ear Music in making this a reality, because we've always wanted to do it, we've always talked about it, but it was just for some, the timing was right. I wanted to do something like this along the lines of the springboard of the Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
but that wasn't in the cards.
Yeah.
So we're all patient. Everybody was ready to go, but I mean, Alice is very busy
Yeah. He's
as
touring a
a
lot.
solo professional, and with his move, he has a lot of irons in the fire all the time.
Yeah.
So to really find time to do this on the level that we wanted to do it was, I think that was key. And if we ever did anything in the future again, which is talked about, but there's nothing in stone yet.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's all about timing. and trying to find an opening to get in to do it. So it was long overdue. And even in the process, we talked about it for a year before to choose material, where it
Wow.
was going to be recorded. So it was actually recorded in Connecticut in 2022. So I mean that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, sitting on
So
it.
so we had to keep that a secret. So none of this happened. The days of doing 2 albums a year
Yeah.
are over for us.
Right.
So we're, so hopefully it doesn't take 50 years to do another one.
Right.
But
Every century you're going to do 2 albums now.
yeah, right. And why not? You got to do something to kill the time. But
How long did it take you to put once you set the date and you went into the studio, you picked the material, how long did it take you to record these 14 songs?
well, we had about 10 days plus or minus to the studio, the Carriage House here in Stamford, Connecticut. Johnny Montanese, who we all know very well, even Bob Ezrin has worked in that studio before, which I think was key in making everybody feel at home and
Yeah.
comfortable. But by the time we went, I think we had about 10 days, 2 weeks booked. And Bob on the offset, so when we went in there, he would have been excited to have like 5 or 6 bed tracks done.
Yeah.
We actually had 14. I think we even had a couple more that we decided not to do on the album. So because I had done a lot of homework, as I always have,
Yeah.
to go in there, and I had actually 20 songs of the songs that we had picked out. There were about 20 of them that I knew pretty well. Rick Tedesco, who was a guitar player that Dennis and I have played with solo on our solo careers. Actually, Rick was at the Hall of Fame with us doing background vocals on the song "School's Out." So Rick is one of our best friends, professionals, and he's got a great studio here in Connecticut. So he, with the lack of the second guitar player, Glenn not being around anymore, God bless him, and he was the closest person to me in the band, got me in the band before, we changed the name to Alice Cooper. But so we needed that second guitar in the studio.
Yeah.
So Rick and Dennis and I had worked on some of the arrangements, and we went into there was a little prep work for it. But actually, to get back to your question, it was about 10 days, 2 full weeks we had in there, and we got them all down. We got all the bed tracks down.
There's a lot of information in the press that there's enough for a second album. Has those songs been recorded, or are they just rough demos right now?
No, they're rough demos, or they haven't even been demoed up yet.
Okay.
There was nothing. There were a few songs, like I said, that were done in the studio, and one of them was one of my KillSmith solo songs.
Yes.
Like "Kill the Flies" is one of my KillSmith songs.
Great song.
But the another one that we had recorded didn't have the feel that I was looking for, so I just pulled it.
Yeah.
And but because feel is the key. When you're in the studio, you can build the song afterward, but we're old school. You have to remember when we were recording back in the 60s and 70s, and even after that for quite a while, the drums had to be intact in the bed track from the beginning to the end. Editing drums was not like it is digitally today. It was a totally different animal. So I'm very used to going in and having to get a perfect drum track.
Yeah.
Don't do that anymore because we can't have the ability and the technology. If there's a little glitch somewhere, you can go back and fix it, and it's seamless. But so we moved along pretty rapidly, and I think that was a key to everything. Michael was there, Dennis was there, myself and Alice. And Bob Ezrin. That's the other thing. I mean, because people have speculated that possibly, we did these from different parts of the country. No. I hate to say it, but that's all bullshit. I would never, ever agree to that. We need the band in the studio with Bob Ezrin to record our bed tracks. That's where the magic happens. Sure. It's spread all across the country.
And that's what I love. There is a feel, not only musically, but there is a feel in the live environment of you guys playing. It's great. Many of the songs on the LP have this surreal imagery, sexual double entendres, murder, mayhem. How important is it to inject that dark humor into the Alice Cooper songs and give you that special feel that we expect from you guys?
Well, that's Alice's job. We bring the songs to the table.
Yeah.
He wrote a couple. As a matter of fact, when I moved out there, bought a house in Phoenix in 2015, 2016, we actually started working on some of these songs.
Oh, wow.
But even maybe a handful of them, three or four of
Yeah.
them. But even as time progresses, anybody that writes songs know that it's an evolution to the final lyrics of a song, just the lyrics alone. I'm just talking about, not the arrangement, the melodies, but the lyrics themselves. And again, sometimes they stay intact.
Yeah.
And sometimes Alice, that's his, like I said, that's his job. That's where he does his thing. And that really is the image I think that the band has portrayed over the years, and that magical thing that happens, and not too many bands have ever been able to do, where you can have something commercial as well as something really, really terrifying.
Yeah. And that's what we love. That's what we all fell in love with
Yeah,
Alice
yeah,
Cooper.
and that's not easy to do, to have some,
No.
like, school's out and then I Love the Dead. I mean, come on, that's like the yin and the yang, and it's hard to make them both successful. You do one or the other. Most bands do one or the other, but I think that's and like I said, we all come up, but like Kill the Flies was my idea for
Yes.
for the
I was going to ask
title.
about that.
And I have that's out on YouTube now, the KillSmith version of Kill the Flies, and it's still the same music, but the interpretation, the way it's treated and handled, is more of almost like a love it to death
Yeah.
killer kind of an Alice Cooper song, and that's where Alice comes in, and Michael and Bob Ezrin with some nice, scary, terrifying keyboards.
Yeah, I thought it had a Dwight Fry type of style to it too, and I really liked it. Was there any concern that you had it on a new KillSmith album, and then at the same token, you were going to intertwine it into the new Alice Cooper album?
I guess if KillSmith, sold 1 million copies, that might be something that would that would have to be discussed. But I think, because I'm still pretty much in an independent label, and
Yeah.
and solo project, so it's not really an issue. And but we do like to have the songs fresh. Even the songs on going back to the Welcome to My Nightmare sequel in 2011, the Alice release right after the Hall of Fame. Michael and Dennis and I each wrote a song on that album. My song was I'll Bite Your Face Off, and that was from a KillSmith song on KillSmith 2 called Evil Voodoo Moon. So that not only changed in structure and what have you, but and Alice rewrote the lyrics around a whole different idea. And I love the song I'll Bite Your Face Off. So one of my favorite songs. So that really inspired it, but that inspiration still gives me credit on the song. So anything can happen. It can be done exactly like the demo, or it can take on a whole new flavor.
Yeah. One of my favorite songs on the album that you had a hand in was the Crap That Gets in the Way of Your Dreams. Now that's
Yeah.
a great song, and it's a funny vocal execution, right? It's pretty entertaining the way he's singing it, and Tell me a little bit about how that one came about. Was that a KillSmith at one point, or?
No, that was one of the songs, Robert, that I just mentioned from 2016. When I moved out there, Michael and Alice and I got together, started working on some material, and that was a song that Alice brought to the table.
Yeah.
The Crap That Gets Away in Your Dreams. And and again, he shifted the lyrics. Unfortunately, I love his mother. She was great. He had a lot of the lyrics that, like, he was still living at home with his mom. But since last couple of years, unfortunately, I love Mrs. Fournier. She passed away.
Oh.
So he wrote the song then about his wife. And so you have to adjust as time goes on. But that was one that Michael and I sat down with Alice, and we interjected some ideas. And actually, Alice took me into the studio, and we did a demo of that song. It was either 2016 or 2017.
Yeah.
So I had a hand in crafting that one, but it was definitely Alice brought that one to the table.
It's a great song. Great song. How has your approach to drumming changed over the years from playing when you were younger to now? And I'm more of a physical demand. The drums are huge. I mean, there's so many drummers that can't do it anymore. You're putting the pedal to the metal, so to speak, on all these songs.
Well, I have to tell you, Robert, putting pedal to the metal is an understatement for the wild ones,
Yeah,
because one of my jobs is to find the tempos for the songs,
yeah.
and I work on that before we go in the studio, and they may be adjusted, but that song was written, and we actually demoed it up when Dennis, Kane Roberts, and Alice and I worked on pre-production for the Constrictor album in 1985. And it was pretty fiery then. And Kane Roberts did an amazing job on that
Yeah,
song.
he's
We
great.
do have a demo of it. That was the one that was the demo that we brought. Of course, Alice, knew the song. He's changed some of the lyrics on it. Still, Dennis' song called Wild Ones. And when we went to the studio, I had the tempo down, ready to go, and do a version of the Carriage House. And Bob said he wanted to speed it up. I'm going like, WTF are you talking about, brother? I'm I was 75 going in the studio doing those songs.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going, okay, you know what? I'm up for a challenge, and I'm going to get it, but we're not going to be able to do 2 or 3 takes in a row. Okay, I'll have to take I'll have to take 5 or 10 minutes between takes, and then by God, we got it, and I was really proud of that one because I also did Beyond the Valley of 1985 with the Plasmatics, their second album, and they're a speed punk metal band.
Yeah.
And that was in the early '80s, and even that pushed me to the limit. When I was when I was in my getting to my late 30s. So being 75 and playing that song, I was particularly proud about that one. And I will push as far as I can go. Just keep an ambulance parked in the outside of the Carriage House Studios, and with the lights going and everything, just you never know. So, but I went for it, and I'm really, because that song is a scorcher. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing the Christmas pudding with
Yes.
Alice in
Yes.
November, and that song is one of the ones that we're going to try to do live. I guarantee it won't be as fast live is as the is on the album, but it's a killer song.
Do you have to prepare for, like, you're going into the studio for a 2 week run.
Yeah.
Are you rehearsing? Are you practicing? Are you stretching? Are you, keeping how do you keep your chops up so that you could handle that type of marathon, playing all day?
I'm in the studio, in my studio at home every day for a month before I go into the studio,
Wow.
working on every one of the songs.
Wow.
So it's a huge, it's like a football player getting ready for
Yes.
opening day in the season, because I have to be ready to go when
Yeah.
when we go in the studio. It all starts with me. Second Dennis, but we work together, but it all starts with me, and I take that response. I love that responsibility. Um, uh, I'm a Type A personality, and I will go for it, and I will not only do my best, but like Bob said when we got all those bed tracks, he said two things. He said, I thought, when we were starting to put songs together, getting all songs from Michael, me, and Dennis and Alice, he said, I thought they'd be pretty good, but they're really good. The
Yeah.
songs that ended up on the album, he said, and the playing is exceptional on there. And
Absolutely.
we and I'm not the only one. I know Dennis rehearses very, very hard too.
Yes.
And because we have to be the foundation for the music. Michael will come in, the guitars can be overdubbed, but Michael's with us so we get to feel on the on the bed tracks. But he took a lot of them back to Arizona because unfortunately he couldn't bring his whole stack, his whole sound with him. So, and he's got a great sound, and it ended up on the album. So, yeah, I do a lot of prep work, and it's a labor of love, and it's a great workout.
No, that's great. I was watching the interview that the whole band did when the release came out in the UK. Tim Rice was asking a question about tension in the studio. You quickly responded yes, but you didn't really address what the tension is, because tension could be positive, where you're pushing each other to different aspects to make the songs better, or it could be tension where it's personality wise, which isn't good. So when you were you joking around, or what type of tension was there in the studio that you had?
Well, all of our personalities are fucked up anyway. That's why we've been friends for so long, because
That'll
we
do it.
get it. We get it. We understand each other.
Yeah.
And right away, with our silly sense of humor, when we go in the studio, the same goofy jokes,
Yeah.
pranking on each other. It's like a roast all the time.
Oh, that's funny.
So that breaks, that breaks the tension. We're very, very, very serious about what we do.
Yeah.
But the tension we put on ourselves to play as perfect as possible.
Got it.
And going back to how I write the drum parts, I always when I'm working on a song, I'm listening to what the song is demanding.
Right.
All the way from Black Juju, all the way back to even an Easy Action with Return of the Spiders. What does that song demand that's unique?
Yep.
And I can get away with playing it because I love to try all kinds of different beats on songs. So I think most of and it's not really tension. I think it's just that, okay,
Pressure.
we want to get this right. And we're going to do everything we can do. And especially on me and Dennis, like I said, I mean, Dennis can even go in and overdub parts because he keeps changing in his mind what he wants to play on it. And that's great. But
Yeah.
when I'm done, what I've played is what's going to be on the record. So I think when we're really talking about, it's not personalities. It's not Bob. I mean, Bob is like, he horses around with this as much as anybody.
That's
He
great.
probably laughs more than any of us do in the studio.
You should have filmed it. You should have filmed all the making of the album. That could have been a great thing.
Yeah, it would have been, and there were some cameras rolling when, as you saw on, I think, Black Mamba and a couple of the videos.
Yeah.
They weren't recording the music, but they were recording. They were just filming the band in the studio.
Your approach, you sound singularly focused from the very beginning. But we all read the stories about Alice Cooper Band, the legendary exploits, the band excess. How did that impact back then the creativity, the playability, the recording compared to now? I mean, tell me about the dichotomy of the two, the bookends.
Well, I think that, first of all, Pretty Free and Easy Action in those days, leading into Love It to Death, this band wasn't doing anything drug-wise, alcohol-wise that any other band was doing. We're doing everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of times when I took LSD, when I was like for the last song of the show, even that famous Toronto Rock and Roll Revival where I'm running all over the stage and everything, those goggles on, I was stoned out of my mind on LSD. And that's fun because we didn't have a hit single, so the show had to be outrageous.
It was.
And I'm an artist, and even the first time I ever took LSD, people saying they're losing their mind. I was digging it. I'm going, I'm smart. I know I took a drug. The world is not melting around me, so I'm going to enjoy myself, have fun, because at a point everything's going to come back to normal. And I did the same thing on stage, but eventually, Robert, you go, okay, the bigger we were, okay, Love It to Death now sells 500,000 copies.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get a little more serious about getting, by Love It to Death, I was already pretty serious because now we have an opportunity with a great producer. Well, Bob was new. He wasn't great yet. But, our first two albums together combined sold about 20,000 copies with Frank Zappa Straight Records. So now we had the opportunity for a third album, which no band ever gets. And but thanks to Shep Gordon and his wheeling and dealing. But getting Bob involved, so it built from there. To answer your question, every album I had more and more serious. Now I still like to drink my beer. Back in those days, maybe smoke a joint. But eventually, I just stopped smoking joint, and I wouldn't have a beer until after the session.
That's great.
Never, by Love It to Death and Killer, I was totally straight every single time we were in the studio, and still to this day, I don't even want to see any beer or any alcohol or anything in the studio. I take it way too serious, and to relax afterwards, have a drink, a cocktail, whatever. But it's just a matter of of the way and when anybody else does, I can't dictate to anybody else what they do.
Yeah.
Whatever we have to do to feel comfortable in the studio, but and I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that particular strategy works for me, and I will continue to do that because I have to be crystal clear. Like I said, I'm in the studio for a month before I do a project like
You're not going
Revenge.
to mess it up.
No,
A couple of
I
beers.
can't. I
Yeah.
can't. It means too much. I
Yeah.
mean, I know we have done songs on Alice's album for the last 3 solo albums,
Yep.
and take that as seriously, so as serious as this was. But now we have the opportunity for the legacy of the band, for the fans to finally, thank God, give them a product that I went back to some of my videos, KillSmith videos, and somebody said, please, Al, let's get the band back together so I can buy one more album before I die. And
Wow.
that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I hope that person is still around. And I hope she appreciates the Revenge album because that dream finally
Sure they
did
do.
come true.
I'm sure. There's just talk and excitement. The album is killer. We love the album. Now we want to see you guys play. I know you're playing the Christmas Pudding Show. If you were to do a tour with the original members, who would you like to see replace Glenn on stage? I know in 2017 you had Ryan Roxy. What is there any thought about that, or a fantasy or a dream about who you'd have?
I think first of all, there'll never be, I'm not interested in doing a full blown tour like Alice does.
Okay.
If there were some particular dates like we did in the UK in 2017, and we figured it out both financially and linguistically too. I mean, not linguistically, but I mean logistically.
Yeah.
I got to start drinking so I get my words correct.
The interviews are fine, not on the drum kit, right?
Yeah, right. You got it. So I think that maybe play like 2 or 3 dates in Detroit in a smaller venue, or some of our bigger cities, Toronto, LA, Phoenix, New York, Chicago, Detroit, something like that could be a possibility. Now, Jazzy, who came in and sat in with us on the album,
Right.
I think he's going to be in Phoenix with us for the Christmas Pudding.
Okay.
Because I've been that hasn't been official, but I've talked to Michael Bruce, and I know Michael's been talking to him. We have a 7-song set list, and I know people from Canada, from England, from the UK, and from Australia are coming to that show.
Right.
So I can never say for certain, but if you really want to see the band live, I would suggest being at that show. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future. I'm more focused, Robert, on the possibility of another album.
Yeah, that's great.
To me, that makes a little bit more sense. But you never know. As we talked about before, every year that goes by, everybody gets a little older. Now, I was 75 when we recorded this. I'm a little older than that now. And so it becomes a little bit more work. And let me guarantee everybody 100%, the way I recorded and wrote when I was in my 20s was never meant for like an old geezer drummer to play. Trust me. That's why I said when Bob pumped up Wild Ones and he goes, he wants to take it up a notch or 2 in tempo, and I go, are you freaking crazy? All right, let's give it a go. And we did it. We did it. But it's I'm always up for a challenge, so I will never say never. But we'll all have to wait to see what happens. But and Alice is booked. He's booked. God bless him. He's like the Energizer Rabbit up there on stage with a pickup and a top hat. So I appreciate him, respect him for that, and as long as he keeps playing out there, that always stirs up our back catalog too, because he's always doing our classic songs.
True. Now, you talked about prepping for this album, but you've been releasing albums with KillSmith. You released 5 albums with KillSmith. Just the newest one came out in June. Who's in the band? And tell me a little bit about the prep for writing and recording and releasing one of those albums.
Well, the KillSmith project started in the like 2005, 2004, and that plus or minus. Dennis and Joe Bouchard and I had done a few, as Bouchard, Dunaway, and Smith, a few CDs. I had a friend that lived in Weston, Connecticut, where I lived at the time, and Peter Catucci, bass player, who invited me for a project with him and a guitar player from New York. Robert, I forget Robert's last name, great guitar player. And the three of us sat down and did some jams and did some music. And so now I was very familiar with Peter, and I had been writing some songs and just asked him if he was interested in putting some tracks down. And because I play enough guitar to put the tracks down.
Yeah.
And that was Sexual Savior, the first KillSmith. And I was very, very influenced by the band Rammstein from Germany. I love Rammstein.
Yeah.
Their Mutter album to me is like the Sgt. Pepper of heavy industrial metal.
Yes.
Such a great album, every song. So I was inspired, just to try some of the songs I was writing in that, not as heavy as I can't play that. I don't have the effects to play that heavy. But we did a pretty good job, and we did too. We did KillSmith, Sexual Savior, and KillSmith 2. And so again, to me, the most important thing is always being in the studio, writing material, keeping your juices flowing, Robert. It's what I do. Whether I say I sell 1 million copies or a couple thousand copies, it's what I do, and it keeps you in shape. So we would bring in lead guitar players to play for those projects, and then Peter, good for him, but he retired and moved down to Florida. So I started working with Rick Tedesco, who I mentioned has a studio in Danbury, Connecticut, and so he started helping me with the KillSmith project. We did KillSmith and the Green Fire Empire, and then KillSmith Goes West. Yeah. And so, he's a guitar player. He co-produces everything with me, engineers everything for the KillSmith music. And again, now it's, I have guitar. I still play guitar occasionally, but he plays almost all the guitar on it, and definitely all the lead guitar. Have brought in a couple other people to play lead once in a while, especially on the KillSmith Goes West album, which was my fourth KillSmith. And Arlen Roth, who's a great classic blues and rock guitar player, jazz, did a couple tracks on that one, on the country one. It's more of a country, like an outlaw country, KillSmith Goes West. So now Rick and I just released the new one.
Yep.
The Heart in a Rock Place, which actually this CD I started writing before COVID. And as I was writing it, some of the songs started to take on a Western feel. And so I set a lot of these songs aside and I went for it, and that became Goes West, KillSmith Goes West. Yeah. Now, after KillSmith Goes West, we brought the songs back out, put them together, and added a couple. And one of the new ones was Heart in a Rock Place. Yeah. So that was the title that I decided to call this one Heart in a Rock Place. So that worked out, and I have 10. I brought one song back that I put on a compilation album called Strychnine, and we redid it and put it on this album. Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple surprises on it, but I'm very, very, it's back 100%, very, 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 heavy rock, little metal in there, but came out great.
I thought the title track, I love it. I thought the title track had a primal punk ethos to it. I heard some punk in there. And now you're talking Rammstein, it's kind of making sense a little bit because they're like industrial hard rock, almost to the point where it's punk. Is that a big influence? Is punk a big influence on you?
Robert, I just write a song.
Yeah.
Okay. I probably the only punk band I really liked would be the Ramones, and of course the Plasmatics. Yeah. And I recorded a full album with the Plasmatics. Right. So being an influence is kind of an understatement. It's more of in my musical DNA. There's a lot of different music, even the country and western. Growing up as a kid in the Midwest in Ohio, and going to the country dances on the weekends, I was I was exposed to orchestras, bands. I was in marching band. I was in little theater, playing the drums in a band with a piano, a
Yeah.
two-piece band. So I've been exposed to all sorts of different music and professionally, yeah, being with the Plasmatics, I'm sure I picked up a little bit of that. I'm not a big punk fan. I don't know that much about it,
Yeah.
but I was baptized with one of the best punk bands, in my opinion, that there
Absolutely.
ever was.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was a fascinating and insightful interview, and I really appreciate your time. I'm going to put a link to order this, and if you want to show your KillSmith album, we'll put a link to that, and people could order that too.
Yeah,
On
if
your
you go
website.
to if you go to nealsmithrocks.com, my website, and it's spelled Neal. I spell it differently than those other supposedly rock artists. Um, I'm actually a big fan of Neil Diamond and Neil Young, even though they spell their name wrong. But yeah, all of that, plus all the news that I have, what's going on with Killsmith and the original band, and all of our revenge videos are on nealsmithrocks.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Neil. It was a real honor to speak with you. And I love the album and I wish you the most success. And I hope we talk again in the future for another album. So I'd really enjoy that.
All right, that would be great, Robert.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Have a great day. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
you too. Take care. Thank you.